webinar about Pomfret School Media Team. I'm joined today by 3 of my students who will enter into the conversation a little bit after I go over the logistics of building the media team, and then we will pause a couple of times through for any questions you may have, so feel free to ask any of us any questions about what we've done or how we did things or our views on progress. So to get us going, I wanted to, there we go, just tell a little bit about Pomfret. We are conveniently located in the northeastern corner of Connecticut, and we draw students from throughout the country and the world. We're a traditional prep school, a boarding and day, and we have only an upper school 9 through 12, and you can see our distribution of students in our student body. Our after-school requirements are typical of most private schools. We require team participation, and we do have a few options for the students, including the arts, theater, community service, outdoor adventure. Now proud that the media team joins those. We also have a very small group of students that are studying yoga, and we have limited options for independent studies. So this team came in, I think, at a good time for our students to be able to explore other areas of their lives that they have a passion for but didn't really have an outlet for. The team works with the Marketing and Communications Department. We are a department of 5 people, and you can see on the screen that we have a Director of Marketing and Communications, myself, which I deal with all of our electronic work, and then we have excuse me, a writer, graphic designer, and then we have a kind of what we call our campus news writer. And all of the students at some point may come in contact with members of the department and work on projects for the department. So getting to the media team, you can see in this picture, this was my group from the winter, and we use a variety of equipment. This was primarily our cameras and iPhones. It's very nice now that most of the kids have the mobile devices that they can also use to do their work, so they can capture photos during the day, in the evening, anytime they're out and about, and find that perfect shot.
Robin, excuse me. We've just had requests if you could just speak up a little bit.
Okay, sorry.
No problem.
Excuse me. This slide shows you the demographics of the media team over the first 8 trimesters, and I thought this would be good for people to see that there's a variety of students. There isn't one typical student for the team. I get all sorts of interesting students, day and boarding, international, boys and girls, a pretty good mix. Some of them are athletes that are just looking to enhance their resume for colleges. Others are more into the arts and would like the opportunity to showcase their work. And this also shows you that there is continuity from year to year, but each term is a new team. They can only do it once a year, and that in itself brings a lot of problems, but also a lot of good. So the media team works closely with marketing and communications to showcase the life of the school. This was a impromptu pyramid building, and we were doing another shoot on campus one day, and it's one of my favorite photos. And my favorite quote here is embedded in the life of the school. They tell the story of Pomfret because they are the school. And I think you can see from the smiles on the faces that they enjoy what they're doing. So a 3-year plan. The purpose of this webinar was to kind of go through how did we build in the last 3 years a media team that has now got the status of the other teams in the afternoon. And I wanted to give you some of the steps that we went through to develop this model. So in year 1, we offered it to a select group of students. They had to express interest. They had to show us kind of a portfolio. And we worked very closely in Marketing and Communications office to try and develop projects that we could start bringing their voice in to the office. It had not been done here before. I'd done it at a former school, so it was a great way to start thinking about how we could use our students to tell our story. and we had to educate the community about the value of this activity. We also were required to build in a component of physical activity in the afternoon. So we have a couple of times a week where the students go to our activity, our fitness center to work out. So we have to balance what they do for the team, for their academics, and also for the physical requirement. We would hold team meetings so that they still get the teamwork information, and then we also develop protocols for using the cameras and also labeling, sorting, uploading all their photos to the school server, so every department has access to their photos. So the first year was a learning curve for everyone. We had no budget. We borrowed cameras, and we worked on projects as they came to us that we could work and teach the students some of the basic skills. Going into year 2, we started to get a little more funding from the Marcom department, the Marketing and Communication Office, to fund more cameras. And then we continued, and this is important for schools to understand, you have to educate the community on the value of this type of team because it is unusual. It's different from what would normally be your teams, and it's not traditional for most schools. We then sought out projects from other departments on campus so that we would move outside of marketing and communications and see how we could help admissions and advancement in projects they were doing that may not be directly related to some of the projects that the Marcom office was looking at. The other thing I did was I moved the tryouts to the beginning of the season, actually before other team tryouts. I actually started doing interviews to kind of find the right students, to find the team members who really wanted to do this and had planned out what they would be doing for their other sports. We started doing project managers to encourage leadership and sense of ownership for projects. I would ask the students, I would throw out ideas, and we would brainstorm in our twice-a-week meeting on what would be of interest to them as well as what would be an interest for the school. And then we also started working on what projects would work and which weren't working as far as the cost factor of time, money, or resources. And then I brought in one of my colleagues, our graphic designer, to help, especially with the sorting of photos and the talking about, or the design of some of our materials, which we're going to show you in a little bit on how to take the photos, what we might be looking for. So this year is year 3. We're looking to keep getting into a budget, more equipment, and I'm going to actually show you some detailed information about this. We actually recycled cameras from our digital photography class so that now we have, I think, about 8 cameras available to the team. They carry them with them. The students carry the cameras during the day and try and take photos. They also have their phones, which is very helpful. And we keep working on the interview process. I keep talking with underclassmen about who I've identified that might be good writers or videographers to see if I can't convince them, just like I would have if I were coaching a varsity team. We're still working on video production. We have limited resources, and it takes so much time that we're still trying to juggle that. I'll be very honest, that's one area I'm still struggling with. We continue to filter projects from other departments to try and balance the needs of the school while still keeping in mind the learning desires of the team, and to keep the team motivated. That's always something you have to do throughout the whole term. And then we're going to talk about the fact our newest project this spring is actually having the students handle the athletic Twitter feed, so that it used to all come through me, and now I have one student who everybody feeds him, and he puts it right out, and Barack is here, and he's going to explain that. So a little bit more now in logistics. Are there any questions first?
Robin,
before I go on?
Yeah, I did have a question from Jeff who is asking, when you say we, how many people were involved in planning and overseeing the student media team?
The initial planning process was the Director of Communication, Sharon Godrow, and myself, and we partnered the first year on the team and had a lot of logistic meetings here with the students, and then I kind of, as our department ramped up with other projects, I kind of took it on. I had coached varsity sports for numerous years, so I took that on as my afternoon activity, and I do coach it three seasons. So it was really just the two of us, and we still consult. In fact, the whole department consults on it. So it was just really within our department.
Okay, we also have a question from Emily, who's asking if you have any suggestions for how to amend this process or plan for junior boarding school students.
I think junior boarding school students, depending on their activities requirements, could do a similar plan, or it could be, we originally looked to also do this as a club and have an extension. We had the Applied Pomfret Press or something like that, where we were going to have the team and then also have students who were varsity coaches, or varsity students, I'm sorry, or other sports and couldn't do it during the season, to work outside on items that they were interested in. So I think the model could be done pretty much at any level. You just have to have the flexibility of time and understanding the amount of time it takes for the students to be given the task, taught what to do, or counseled through it. Sometimes I'm out and about scooting around helping them set shots.
Thank you. Caitlin is also asking what kind of roadblocks you encountered when pitching this idea to the school and how you circumvented them.
I think as we'll talk about towards the end of this, the biggest roadblock was the buy-in by the community that this is a value to the school and a value to our students and an extension of our educational programming, and to get them to understand that this has merit just as any other club activity or sport that we offer. We brainstormed, the students and I, about the kind of the pros and cons, the advantages and the challenges, and one of the biggest is to educate the community on the skills, the values, the resume building that this provides for certain students. I think in particular a student who just doesn't quite find their niche can do something like this and find success in seeing their work published. And whether they're a member of the team or just somebody who submits work for publication, there's value in everything these students do.
Excellent, thank you. We can go ahead and move on.
Okay, so now I just want to do a little bit about the logistics and then get into some examples that my students are going to talk about. And I may have touched on some of these already. To be a member of the media team, we ask that the students have some experience. I also ask them to have a plan in place so that they meet their obligation of their other sports. I try not to take students away from other sport or activities that coaches are counting on. So I have often lost students when I send them back to talk with a former coach of why they want to do media team versus football or lacrosse. I talk to them about the fact that while we're a team, some of the projects are on their own. And I think almost every term there's been someone who I've really wanted to work with, but in the end they will choose the option that most suits them. And I do have those athletes who want to do this but can't because their passion is with the competitiveness. So we normally have 6 to 10 students. I have this spring I have 13. Other seasons I've had only 5, so it fluctuates. My ideal is 6 to 10. Excuse me. Our tryouts include a written application to me, then we do a formal sit-down interview. That way we get to know what the student is thinking, and I ask them, or pretty much know by that point, if they've done photography or video. I will then email advisors to see about their grades and anything else that would be a detriment or a positive to their joining the team, and also looking to make sure that they have demonstrated the ability to take direction and work independently, because we are not with each other every single day, and that's where in the junior boarding schools they'll have to look closely at how you monitor the work. As high school students, there's some flexibility, and we also use technology a lot. So if a student doesn't show up at the meeting right away, I'm texting them. They have my phone number. I have their phone number. And this is our basic schedule. We modify this depending on what goes on during the week. This week we had yesterday off for the Easter holiday, so our team meeting will actually be today, and then the rest of the week will flow normal. So our team meetings are twice a week where we meet in the computer lab. That's where we do all our photo management system work. They have to sort through, label, upload them. We have a file storage area on our network, and all the student photos go there, and everyone in the school has the ability to see the photo galleries and then download them. And I'm still trying to figure out how to get more photo galleries on the web. It's just a lot of time, and everybody wants to take photos, but nobody really wants to necessarily handle the grunt work of getting the galleries on the web, but we keep working on that. Then Tuesdays and Fridays they work out in the fitness center. They may go jogging around campus. They check in with me. If they're sick, they go to the health services. Some of them will go to yoga. And we have a good connection, again, using the cell phones and texting so that I know where students are, and I periodically pop out and check up on them. Wednesdays and Saturdays, normally we're covering the athletics or other activities. We don't just cover them on those days. We'll cover them on any days that there are home contests. We do not travel that much to cover away games, but on the occasion that a student wants to, if there's room on a bus, they have to ask the coach. And then down at the bottom, it's little, but this is important, something that we're really working on, is taking pictures of campus life during the day when they see that moment in class or they're at a lab, in the dorm, taking pictures, and then we can use them for a variety of publications. Equipment, we've always gotten asked, how do you outfit them? Again, I've talked the fact that we have limited budget, so this slide just gives you an idea that we have a variety of cameras, lenses. The biggest thing now is the students' mobile devices. I just recently worked with a class who did a video, and they did their whole flash mob video on iPhones with a variety of people filming, and then we cut it together. So the technology these days is lending itself to this. So ultimately, these are the kind of the 5 phrases. They gain experience and exposure. They build a digital portfolio. They enhance their positive digital footprint. They're valuable and fun team, and they give back to the school. So any questions at that point? Otherwise, we'll move right into examples.
I do have several here, Robin. The first question is this listener is actually thinking about their newspaper and their yearbook. She's asking, was there an overlap of students who were interested in these activities, and were they able to do them all? Did you have to cannibalize other school activities?
We didn't really have to cannibalize. In fact, it helps them. The yearbook gets a lot of pictures from us. A lot of pictures that students take has actually helped them so they can focus on layout. Are you on? I'm asking Gabby. Are you on yearbook? Or you know?
I'm not on yearbook, but hi. I'm not on yearbook, but a lot of my friends are in yearbook, and they have said on numerous occasions that, oh, we pulled this from the media team folder, or we pulled this from an event that you guys covered. So yeah.
So we really haven't drawn away. And again, in the process, I'm very careful to ask students, what did you do last year? Does that faculty member or coach know that you want to change? And in reality, we support the newspaper is the other question, I think the other publication there, and they actually, similar to the yearbook, really value the pictures that the media team provides for them.
Excellent. Maggie's asking, the twice weekly meetings that you have, how long are they?
They're about an hour. They can go longer. Some days they can go less, depending on if everybody's there. Today, because of the webinar, we're not going to meet till 4:30, and I really need to pin down some upcoming projects, so we'll be there for a good hour. We've got to schedule all the athletic coverage for the week. Sometimes we can go longer. I might send kids out to cover events, but at least an hour that we have that contact.
The next question is, do you have captains or some form of elected student leader?
Yes, actually project managers. So that I'm moving now to where each student will take on the leadership of a project and the coordination, and then Gabby has agreed in the fall to be the kind of the team captain to do the overall logistics. And actually the gentleman, Sean O'Laughlin, kneeling down in the picture in front of you, has agreed to do that in the winter, and then I'm still evaluating in the spring. And the goal there would be similar to like our newspaper and our literary magazine, to really have the students to step up and take more ownership and have the adults step back and guide.
David is asking if your team provides content for outside entities such as local newspapers.
We do some writing. I struggle a little bit. Everybody wants to take photos. I struggled with getting writing. We publish a school blog, and we'll go through some of the outlets where the writing and the photos go. But as far as press releases right now, we keep that from within the department. But the photography that the team takes does get used for the press.
Rochelle is asking if they also capture classroom and academic activities.
Yes, they do. Somebody want to talk about that? Kevin?
Yes, we actually do. Usually what happens is that if we have a project or the student is walking around with a camera, they would ask permission from the teacher or the supervisor at the moment. They could just go around, take pictures of student activities. Like usually, probably like last year and this year, I've had over 10 classes where the student came in and just took a photo of a bunch of students doing work. And I find that very successful because if you put in a magazine, in the Pomfret School magazine, a lot of students would want to see how a daily life in the classroom looks like, and I feel like those photos really describe what Pomfret really is.
Excellent, thank you. Joshua is asking, are there any issues you have related to having the photos so widely available where anyone can access and download them? And also, how have you dealt with students who are not allowed to be photographed?
We have a very small list of about 8 or 10 students who were not allowed to publish, and I keep an eye out on that, and Betsy Walker, our associate director, also keeps a close eye out with the press. I think that's more of an issue when you're in the younger grades than in the high school. With social media now, if we don't put it out there, the kids are putting it out there. So we're trying to capture that aspect of the school view by the students to market to other students. So we really, every photo that a student takes is labeled. It's the event, the year, and their name. And any student photo that we use in our publications is clearly identified as student photography. So we've kind of gone away from years past where we were a little hesitant to publish, because now, again, students are publishing everywhere, so we try and show them in the best light possible.
Thank you. Lee is asking if your students have direct access to social media accounts and if they're able to post directly to them without having someone at Pomfret having eyes on it versus Pomfret's voice.
This is Barack. He's going to address that because he was going to talk about that later.
Yeah, I actually, Ms. Cook wanted a student to, she wanted the athletics to be more student-oriented this term and for the future. So I volunteered to become the Twitter guy, you could call it. So I'm getting live updates, scores, and stuff like that during game days. and I actually have direct access from my phone or computer with login and password from Ms. Cook to tweet for Pomfret School. So I'm kind of the chief with Twitter, you could say.
And I do monitor in the sense that I normally am at the computer or watching on my phone. So in the case if there was something not correct, I could easily jump in, and I've guided Barack a couple of times on, balance it out a little bit more with another team. But we're trying to empower students to be informative and appropriate, so that will help them in college and the world beyond, or even in high school, with their positive digital footprint. So learning by doing is important. I have students who handle our Instagram account and our Tumblr account for our fashion blog. But again, I have that oversight and the admin on it. Gabby wanted to say?
Kevin and I were actually in charge of, we were both in charge of the Tumblr account, and Kevin had direct access to it, and I would send him photos that I'd taken throughout the day, or other students in media team would send me the photos, and I'd throw a filter on it, edit it a little bit, and send it Kevin's way, and he would put it up directly from either his phone or his iPod or his computer.
So it's a matter of building trust and having the right students, and it goes back to your interview process and knowing your students. Are we good to jump into some other examples?
I just have one more question from Desiree. She's asking if they also shoot videos.
Again, if we shoot videos, the question?
Yes, that's correct.
I'm sorry, Karen, I didn't hear. Yeah. Video seems to be a difficult thing right now to shoot the quality that we as a school want to present to the public. So each term we work on a project, and we just haven't quite nailed it down yet. This term I'm working with two kids, and now a third has joined in to do some campus tour work for students, kind of showing off their school in short clips. So we have tried live streaming, and the analytics there were mixed, so we kind of backed off because the amount of time involved and the equipment needed at this point without a huge budget was just not really possible. I think with the more comfort level the kids have with their mobile devices and more time I have for training, that's going to be my goal for next year.
Thanks, Robin. We do have a couple of extra questions, but I think
So I'll move it
for now, and we'll just keep moving on.
Well, so what I wanted to do now was show examples of where we have used student work, and this is a wide variety, but examples where once you start developing a student media team, whether it be an afternoon team or a club or an extension of yearbook and newspaper, you can use the photos and give students credit throughout all of your publications. So this is an example of where we have used student photography for our website banners and also our website news. This term I have 3 young ladies writing news items, so when this is from December, but if you were to go on the website now, you'll see the student bylines of any of the news items that they report on. They'll go to a special speaker, they'll write about it, it gets proofed by one of the people in my department, sent back to the student to see if they agree with the edits, and then it comes to me for publication. We use their photos on our website, even the front page, and as you'll see, the biggest thing is to clearly give them credit so that people looking at the site or family and friends know that that was done by the students. And my goal is to try and always have student work published. We no longer hire a professional photographer to come in for photo shoots. We do it all with our students. We have a robust art program, and that is helpful. Gabby's going to talk about this next project because this was a project we did in the fall with the media team that I just want to keep working on and taking to the next level. So I'm going to pass it over to Gabby to talk about it.
Okay, so this was our Pomfret A to Z for prospective students, and the way that the fall media team came up with this was that we were thinking about when we applied what we saw on the website and what made us choose Pomfret based off the website. And we were coming up with ideas, and one of the concerns that we all had was that there wasn't enough pictures on. There wasn't enough student life. We didn't see enough of the campus from a student perspective. So Mrs. Cook came up with A to Z, an easy way to organize and put Pomfret into categories based on letters. And each of the pictures, how do I describe these pictures?
They represent a key word. The team brainstormed over most of the fall and came up with, in small groups and then in a large group, a word for each letter that described Pomfret. And then I challenged them to then come up with a sentence. And that was hard. And again, these were in our team meetings. And then the next step was
to choose the next step was probably the hardest, was choosing a picture that one accurately reflected community at Pomfret and also showcased either student or faculty at the same time. And that was hard because we had a lot of photos to choose from, but it took us a really long time to choose which ones we thought reflected the community best.
And then ultimately, this is the type of project that each term I challenge a team, if a team member wants to work on this some more, and then I have a challenge into our website provider, because if you go to the website now, this is kind of all you see, and what I want to do is make these clickables, have the cards turn over, and have something more developed. So I'm looking for the technology piece to enhance this. But a great example of a collaborative effort by actually two teams. The fall team got it mostly in place and the winter team fine-tuned it. This is another example of an answer to a question where somebody said about project leaders, and Gabby's going to talk about this one too.
Okay, so this one? Okay, so positive digital footprint, and this is something that I was looking for when I joined the media team, because I am really into photography and really into editing photos and editing video, and it's something that I want to do in college. And with media team, I was able to use my camera every day. I was able to get out there and get real-world experience and work with people and have to direct them. And also I have something with my name on it, so I can refer colleges to a URL to a specific picture. And that just wasn't for me, that was for all the students' names that you see listed up here, and for the winter and spring students as well.
So this becomes an archive of our teamwork, and also becomes, as Gabby stated, an area for students to put into their digital resume, their portfolio. And as we continue to build this, I look for a member of the team each season to take this on, which is basically getting each student to give them their best photos and help work on the actual page. And going along with that, just quickly, our Talk Shop, our Student Center, we have 24 frames there, and each season we have a couple of students who are delegated the task of taking or gathering pictures to be printed and hung in the Tuck Shop. So you can see the smaller photo kind of to the left shows you the size going up the stairs, and then inside you can see along the walls student photography, student life, fun photos. That is another project. We use student photography on the website for wallpapers. Our alumni are particularly enjoying the sense of place, and these scenes were taken, and we have now where we've got through April up there and processed so that people can download them and have pride in the school. Now we come to the social media, and we talked a little bit about this. So this is Instagram. Normally have one or two students working on this. They're responsible for posting, and you can see the back side of the picture there in the lower left gives some detail and also who took the photo. And now the Pomfret look, which I think Kevin's going to talk about.
Yes. Yeah, we'll split. Yes, so over the fall, me and Gabby, we're working on the Pomfret lookbook, which is basically we use a Tumblr account for this. We went around campus and went up to students that had really nice outfits. We would take a photo and describe what they're wearing and how this outfit represents the culture of Pomfret. Since this is a preparatory school, since I used to go to public school and there was no such thing as dress code, and coming here describing how kids dress up to school really shows what type of community we are, and it's really nice to see the boys here wearing shirts and ties with a blazer, and with the girls wearing their attire, and it's really nice to see that. I think it's nice to show the community how Pomfret dresses and stuff. So Gabby, take over here.
Again, this was thinking about prospective students because when I applied to the school, I didn't really know what to pick out for dress code. I also came from public school and I had no idea what dress code was. So the Pomfret look is to help students get a frame of an idea of what kind of things to wear around campus, like wear to class. And it's not just dress code, it's also what kids wear to the tuck. It's just kind of seeing if, oh, those are really cute shoes. Maybe someone wants to know where you got those shoes, or that's a really nice tie. Where'd you get that tie? Just kind of to showcase student expression as well as help prospective students.
So we use social media in other ways. We'll also publish student work on our Facebook and Google Plus account. I haven't opened those quite up yet to the students. Again, part of it's manpower and part of it's just the time. But they will feed me information and we will publish there. Brock's going to talk. He's already talked a little bit about the athletic Twitter feed, but I wanted him to talk about how logistically he gets the team organized.
So every Monday, or at the beginning of every week, we meet as a group, and on the screen you can see that we have a Google Drive account, and at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of the season, I sat down and put in all of the athletics for the whole season, and this way every Monday we pull up this document and I sit down, Ms. Cook and I sit down with the group, and I assign certain students, whether it's solo or with a couple people, to go to certain games and take pictures, send me scores throughout the games, updates, anything that's important. And while this is happening, I'm sort of roaming around campus with my phone, going from game to game, and I'm filling in the gaps, so I try to be creative. On the screen on the bottom, I saw the trainer working with my buddy Andrew, and I thought it was a cool moment to capture her, and her taping him up on the scene. And I just wrote, "Our trainers at work, always taking care of our players." And I just think it shows how serious Miss Hannah, who's our athletic trainer, takes care of our players, and it'd be something cool to throw onto the Twitter. I kind of just go with the flow and see how every day is.
And that's the type of student voice that makes a difference for us and for the people following us. So now we move on to out of social media into some of our print publications, and I asked Kevin to talk about this photo shoot that we did. When did we do this photo shoot? Last fall. And he's going to talk about this photo shoot, and I'll show you how we used one photo shoot. We have gotten tremendous use, and this was done by one of our students and the media team. This was not a professional photographer.
Yes, so it was last fall when we took this photo. This was actually the student media team at the time. And what Cook did was she made one of our students named Johnny Richmond. He was a fantastic photographer. And what he did was he went across the street and took a photo of us. And our job was to basically mimic the photo on top. As you could tell, we were trying to have the same placement as the photo on top. And I think one of the cool things about this photo is that they show the culture, like fusion that we have now compared to back in the day in 1934. Because back in the early 1900s, Pomfret used to be an all-boys school. And now, as you can see, there's kids of all types of race in the bottom photo. It's not all boys anymore. It's a co-ed school. And I feel like this photo right here shows a lot of culture like fusion, and I think it definitely attracts a lot of students to apply here, so they'll feel comfortable about how we treat gender, race, and etc. And the year after that, which was this year, my senior year, this was actually the same day that we took the last photo. We just did other sets of it, and I was fortunate enough to actually be in this one again, which I'm pretty happy about. Definitely, I think this photo is awesome. It shows, again, diversity. It shows the nice gate that we have versus Pomfret School, and then in the background you can see that the ivy covering the buildings, and it just represents our school really well. And if you look at the photo on the right, you could tell that there was a lot of editing that we had to do in order to get this photo done right. Like you see my shirt is blurred out, and a couple kids got cut off, but it's a really nice photo. Definitely describes a lot about the school.
Yeah, and the reason I put the original photo was taken by Johnny Richmond, was to show you that with a Marcom office like we have here at Pomfret, we have an in-house graphic designer. So he can take the student work and use it to whatever direction we need. This is our view book, and we needed it tall, not wide. And I didn't know at the time. With this photo actually was not planned. I just love this Pomfret gate, and I thought someday we'll need this picture for something. And then it turns out that it did become our view book picture. This is another example of a print picture, but the word of the media team spread to other students, and so now I have students submitting photographs to me all the time. And this photo, excuse me, was a study group that just decided to kind of stage a photo and see if they could get their photo up on our digital signage, and we ended up using it in the magazine. Another example of student work is this fall. One of the first days I sent my students out with their iPhones and said, snap photos of campus life. And this picture was taken by a sophomore, Max Goldstein. It got filed on our photo drive, and when it came time to produce the annual report, we just happened on, our graphic designer happened on this photo, and this is on our annual report. It's on the website. It was on the postcards that got sent out. For a simple iPhone photo, it spoke volumes to all of our audiences. So these are just examples of how we are using student work to showcase our school. And Gabby's going to talk about kind of the unique aspect of the media team in that we work with other groups on campus.
So a great part of media team is that you don't just sit in a room and edit pictures and just sift through a bunch of files. A great thing is we get out and be a part of events, be a part of a lot of different groups, and this is from an event that we did. It was the blood drive this fall. We went in for like an hour, 2 hours that day and took pictures of kids waiting, people sitting at the table eating after they had gotten their blood taken, and then we did signs saying like why they wanted to donate or what was their motivation to donate. And other things that we did was that we went to Hole in the Wall Gang, which is a camp for cancer victims who are just down the road from us. And we help with the Audubon Society. We do local cleanup with that as well.
So in all these cases, my students not only take photographs, but they help. The picture up there, the student Bobby Walker under the Pomfret School banner, he was actually kind of entertaining the students as they were waiting to donate blood. So we partnered with the community service to do whatever they needed to do at the blood drive. At the Arboretum, some of the students who went to photograph also helped with the cleanup. Gabby went to the Hole in the Wall Gang, took the team photo, and also helped them with their cleanup. So it becomes a bigger group effort in that we don't stay by ourselves, but we also are out there in the campus. This was kind of a neat thing this fall, was we needed, the head of school requested a faculty photo. Of course, if you want, I'm a faculty member, as is the other members of my department, so I lined up 2 or 3 of my student photographers, and this is one, Robbie Cleary, who actually took the photo of the faculty. And I think my students discovered faculty are just as kind of squirmy and all that as the students are. And we do other things like send them out to take pictures of our key heads to capture the moment of students that only students can capture. We do programs and work for advancement. We work with them on stuffing envelopes and doing artwork. That's our school mascot. And so the students are learning marketing and communications through the other departments by working on the projects and learning how we communicate. Then this is a couple other examples that we've used in the magazine where we're spelling out Pomfret in human letters and in architecture, just trying to come up with creative ways to work on a variety of projects. So those are some good examples. I'll pause for some questions and then we can wrap up with what we brainstormed as a group on the advantages and the challenges of the media team.
Thank you. Shannon is asking, what kind of training do you provide for your students on the school's brand and voice?
We try throughout the term to educate them on the brand, our strategies, why we will publish certain things and won't publish certain things. And it's just an ongoing process that not being your typical coach, but being one of the key members in the department, I'm well schooled and versed, and part of it also, I'm constantly reminding them of that.
Anne is asking how you get around a student participating in an event versus covering it.
When we do the assignments, if a student, say, is in a production, then they're not assigned to that. So that's one way.
When I went to Hole in the Wall Gang, the community service, what they were doing, where they were moving party favors for an event they were having from one end of the camp to the other, and I jumped in and helped with that. So I'm not just behind the camera the whole time. I also get to help them and work things out with them. And also for the blood drive, I wasn't old enough to donate blood, but if I was old enough to donate blood, I definitely would have done that. I wouldn't have just used the camera the whole time.
So that way it allows students to participate or give or contribute in more than one way.
Great. Ross is asking, what percentage of your time is dedicated to managing your media team?
Of the time of my job, it's the equivalent of a varsity level coach. I've coached 4 different sports in prep schools over 30 plus years, and this really equates to that amount of time, because there's the prep, the briefing of what people need for projects, the meeting with the group, meeting with individuals. I look at their photos, I monitor social media, a lot of logistics, so it's the equivalent of a full-time coaching position.
Paul is asking, do you ever have the students use their personal social media accounts?
No, we do not. We protect our brand and everything, and we only use the school accounts.
Anna's asking if you proof.
The kids are all agreeing with that. The kids. Sorry.
Anna's asking if you proof posts on Facebook or Twitter.
If I approve them, the students actually on Instagram Lookbook and the sports Twitter are actually live. They actually use the account, so you can actually have multiple users. So there is no direct filter. It's the confidence and the education that I have in my students, and ahead of time I really instill in them that they are speaking on behalf of the school and how to act appropriately. And I must say, through many years of doing this, I have never had to pull anything that wasn't appropriate. Let's see, how do I phrase it? I've never had to censor or pull anything.
Okay, we've had another question regarding resistance from school leadership, but I know that you had said you were going to sort of address that again in the presentation.
Right.
So we'll go ahead and move on from here.
All right, so these next two slides are kind of the summary of the advantages and disadvantages as we, as a small group, brainstormed about the presentation and how to sum it all up. And so speaking on behalf of my students and how I recruit students and how I kind of cajole students to consider joining me is the fact that they are resume building, that they are learning a skill that will provide them good opportunities in high school, college, and the world beyond, that there is recognition for their work outside of the classroom and on and off campus. Gabby's talked about the fact they get to see the big picture. They get to be part of other groups and team projects, so they get to experience more of the school than if they were on, one team each season. You don't have to travel as much, so you get to experience more of the school. There is the real world experience working with us in the marketing and communications department. I think it's the equivalent of what would be at some schools an internship. We do a lot to develop their writing, photography, and video through exploration through their eyes, work on personal communication skills, interpersonal skills, and leadership by having every student have to lead a project. They have to learn how to manage their peers and stay on target date. They learn about the school through a way that they probably would not if they were just your typical student. And they look for the moments, I don't know who said this one, but they look for the moments of the school that I as an adult or a professional photographer might not see. They walk around with a different set of eyes. And I think that is huge, and that shows, and we've gotten positive feedback on that. And then the last thing, which is so vital, a skill I just firmly believe in how to network, how to make connections. So we work with them on how to get the story, how to ask the teacher, can I take out my phone and take this picture and send a text to Mrs. Cook, because this is just a wow moment for class. So that's what we brainstormed as the advantages. Barack has a comment on that.
So one really big advantage of the media team, personal story for me, when I was interviewing with Miss Cook, she mentioned to me that through the media team, it is an option to put on your resume as a marketing communications internship. I happen to be, will be studying marketing communications and business in college. So I was fortunate to have the opportunity to do this. I still am fortunate. And it popped in my head after I spoke with her that I could go over across the street to the advancement office, which I did. And I spoke to Miss Jones, who is one of the associate directors of advancement for the alumni office. And I told her about the media team and the marketing and communications aspect. And she happened to get in touch with 7 or 8 alumni from Pomfret who live in the Boston area, which is where I'm from, and got them in touch with me in hopes of getting me some kind of a marketing internship for this summer, which I actually landed on one. So if it was not for my meeting and interview with Miss Cook and having the opportunity to get this kind of experience beforehand and before college, I wouldn't really be set up for the summer doing something that is going to prepare me for college. So my point is, and a really huge advantage is you don't really know where it's going to set you up until you try it out. And I think that's one cool aspect of it, is you got to try it out before you doubt it.
So that's an excellent point on how this plays a role, not only benefiting the school but the child, the student. So these are the challenges we came up with, and the questions that we've heard today have addressed some of this. The buy-in by the community to see the value of the team and the importance of the work that they do, and that we do put in as many hours as the competitive teams do. We just don't do it in that typical time frame. And that's still something that we continue, not only myself and my department, but my students continue to educate the faculty. We need to continue to promote, and I advise any school going into this venture to look at how to budget to purchase the necessary equipment to support the students and the team. Not that you have to have the latest and greatest, but you need to have some cameras, some good cameras, so that if a student takes a photograph that you want to use in print, you've got the quality. Certainly the mobile phone pictures do well for social media and the web, but we do need the other cameras to do more of our print pieces. Coordination and prioritization of projects is a challenge at times when you've got multiple projects going on and you have multiple kids on each project team. The perception, my students sometimes feel that other kids say, well, the media team is easy, why are you doing that? You should be doing a sport. And then we always have those team members, as you would have on even a competitive team, that don't quite make the commitment of others. So at times it can be discouraging to some when they look at the balancing of duties. And then last, but perhaps I think most important for all of us in private schools, students, and in life, is just the time to do all this. So that's pretty much our presentation. I was going to, if we had time, talk about how we extended this into the classroom, but we're pretty close on time. I apologize if we went long, but we can wrap up with a couple of questions, and then I'll pop to the slide with our contact information.
Robin, we've actually gotten to all the questions throughout the webinar, so we don't have anything at the moment. If you'd like to just, this is great. We've had a couple people saying, you know, this was a really excellent webinar, and thank you so much for sharing. And so as you can see here.
I'm sorry, I've put up a slide not only with my contact information, but also my 3 students who you've heard from today. I would be more than willing to give any insight if anyone wants to contact them through their school email. And certainly contact me also with any questions. And I believe I will send this PowerPoint over to you. Can we post it somewhere?
Absolutely. I've recorded this whole webinar, and I will put a PDF of Robin's slides up on the same page. Tomorrow, all registrants will receive a link to admission.org, the webinar page that will contain a recording as well as Robin's slides. So that way you'll have all the information in front of you. So I'd like to thank our audience for tuning in, and a special thank you to Robin and her students for providing us with this insightful webinar. Just a reminder, this recording will be made available on admission.org. Thanks again, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.